Hello, live viewers. Welcome to Courts Today. Let us dive into the important legal headlines of the day. The Supreme Court has refused to entertain another petition challenging Places of Worship Act and allowed the petitioner to intervene in pending proceedings. After opposition from the bar, the Supreme Court today recalled a contempt order against an advocate and an AOR. A BJP leader has moved the Kerala High Court to ban Empuran, says that the film can incite communal violence. The top court has dismissed Tushar Gandhi's plea against Gujarat government's Sabarmati Ashram redevelopment project. The Karnataka High Court has rejected a PIL questioning fare hike in Bengaluru Metro, says that the administration has the power. The top court has declined to interfere with Allahabad High Court's order directing ASI to whitewash the Sambhal Mosque walls. The Delhi High Court has granted permanent injunction to Tata against trademark infringement of its packaged drinking water and awarded 10 lakh damages. And the Andhra Pradesh High Court has observed that rape is not a mere physical assault and liberal approach while granting bail against interest of society. I am your host Urvashi Chauhan, bringing you the important legal updates of the day. Quick, crisp, and to the point. Watch till the end, and if you find this update valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. The Supreme Court today refused to entertain a writ petition challenging Section 4, Subsection 2 of the Places of Worship Act 1991, which states that any legal proceedings regarding the religious character of a place of worship, if initiated before 15th August 1947, must be terminated when the Act came into force. A bench comprising Chief Justice of India Sanjeev Khanna and Justice P.V. Sanjay Kumar noted that a similar challenge to the Act is already pending before the top court under the title Ashwini Kumar Upadhyay versus the Union of India. The court therefore declined to interfere in the present petition but granted the petitioner the liberty to file an application in the pending case. Let me tell you, another petition is pending before the top court which seeks implementation of the Act. In December last year, it passed an important interim order directing that no fresh suits or survey orders should be passed in cases concerning disputed religious sites like the Gyanvapi Mosque, Mathura Shahi Idgah, and Sambhal Jama Masjid. The original petition specifically contests that the Section 4.2 of Act violates fundamental rights by preventing the rightful recovery of temple properties that were allegedly misappropriated by other communities. That it takes away the power of the judiciary, which is a violation of the doctrine of separation of powers. The plea emphasizes that temple property under Hindu law remains the deity's property forever, even if occupied or controlled by others for years. The petitioner argues that the legislature cannot overrule judiciary's authority to hear and decide such matters. Stay tuned for more updates on this important legal battle. The Supreme Court today almost passed an order holding two advocates prima facie guilty of contempt of court for filing a vexatious petition. But after strong protest from lawyers present in the court, including representatives of Supreme Court Bar Association and Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association, the court withdrew its order. Let me give you the background of the matter here, which was heard before a bench comprising Justice Bela M. Trivedi and Justice Satish Chandra Sharma. Previously, on 28th March, the bench had raised concerns over incorrect statements in the petition and directed the presence of the concerned advocate on record. The senior advocate appearing in the matter that day had informed the court that the AOR was at his native place with poor internet connectivity and could not attend virtually. But unconvinced by the explanation, the court had ordered that AOR must appear in person with the travel tickets today. When the AOR appeared before the bench today, the court initially directed him to file an affidavit explaining his actions, stating that filing the petition prima facie amounted to contempt of court. As soon as the order was passed, the advocates present in the court opposed it strongly. The advocates had not been given a chance to be heard before being held guilty, that the order was based on preconceived notions and could unfairly damage their reputations. They said that as the case would be covered on social media and it could irreversibly harm their careers, it was important to withdraw the order. Despite the strong resistance, Justice Bela Trivedi defended the court's stance. However, as the protests continued, the court ultimately withdrew the contempt reference and modified the order. The revised order stated that the petitioner and his advocates must file an affidavit explaining the circumstances under which the second SLP was filed with distorted facts and incorrect statements. The affidavit must be submitted within 1 week, and the petitioner has been directed to personally appear before the court on 9th April as well. I must tell you here that last year, Justice Bela Trivedi-led bench had directed a CBI inquiry in a case against lawyers accused of filing a fake SLP with fabricated signatures. Another order that sparkled criticism was passed recently regarding marking of lawyer appearances. Well, Live Law recently held a discussion on this judgment. In case you are interested, you can check out our YouTube channel. A writ petition has been filed in the Kerala High Court seeking to stop screening of the Malayalam Malayalam film Empuran starring Mohanlal. The petitioner V.V. Vijesh, a BJP Thrissur district committee member, has raised objections over the film's depiction of the 2002 Gujarat riots, alleging that it has the potential to incite communal violence and disturb public order. The film, a big budget sequel directed by Prithviraj Sukumaran, has been at the center of controversy after certain right-wing groups objected to its portrayal of the post-Godhra communal riots. Following the backlash, Mohanlal had issued a statement on Facebook expressing regret over the concerns raised and assuring that the objectionable portions would be removed. Reports indicate that the film has since been re-edited, but the petitioner here has dismissed this move as a mere marketing agenda to draw more viewers. Apart from the communal angle, the petition also claims that Empuran contains comments about the Ministry of Defence that could undermine its credibility and integrity. The petitioner has further alleged that Prithvi Raj Sukumaran has a pattern of targeting the NDA government through his films, accusing him of making movies aimed at tarnishing its reputation. Additionally, the petition states that the producers of the film, Anthony Perumbavoor and Gokulam Gopalan, are under investigation by the Enforcement Directorate for the alleged violations related to foreign funding. The petition urges the court to halt the film's screening, citing the risk of communal unrest and national security concerns. The Kerala High Court is yet to take a decision on whether to stay the film's release or dismiss the plea. Stay tuned. The Supreme Court today dismissed a petition filed by Tushar Gandhi, the great grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, challenging Gujarat government's 1200 crore revamp of the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. A bench of Justice M.M. Sundaresh and Justice Rajesh Bindal rejected the SLP filed by Gandhi, citing an unexplained delay of nearly 2.5 years in approaching the court. The petitioner sought to overturn a September 2022 Gujarat High Court ruling, which had already dismissed his challenge to the redevelopment project. In his petition, Tushar Gandhi had urged that revamp would alter the century-old ashram's historical character and corrupt its ethos. He claimed that while around 40 structures were earmarked for preservation, nearly 200 buildings would either be demolished or reconstructed, impacting the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi. The Gujarat High Court, however, had taken note of the state government's assurance that the existing ashram would not be altered or disturbed. It also observed that the redevelopment would help in promoting Gandhian values, making the Sabarmati Ashram a center for learning for people across generations. The Karnataka High Court today dismissed a PIL challenging the fare hike in Bengaluru Metro, commonly known as Nama Metro. The petition was filed by an automobile engineer working in a private company who argued that the increase in metro fares was excessive and violated the principles of promissory estoppel and legitimate expectation. A division bench comprising Chief Justice N.V. Anjaria and Justice K.V. Arvind heard the matter and rejected the petition, stating that the fare increase was a statutory exercise carried out under Section 33 of the Metro Railways Operation and Maintenance Act 2002. The court emphasized that fare fixation falls within the domain of the Fare Fixation Committee, an expert body designated to determine metro fares. It observed that courts cannot interfere in such decisions unless there is a clear statutory violation. During the hearing, the petitioner contended that the fare had been increased by 71%, which was far beyond what was initially proposed. He argued that BMRCL had deviated from the principle of station-wise fare determination and had instead implemented a stage-wise fare system covering multiple stations within a single phase. He further asserted that the fare revision should not exceed 25% of the fare that was in effect on 8th February 2025 as per BMRCL's earlier public statement. The High Court, however, rejected these arguments, stating that there was never a commitment by the Metro Authority to refrain from increasing the fares. It held that the concept of legitimate expectation could not be applied in an abstract manner, and that simply because the petitioner had made a representation, it did not mean that BMRCL's actions were vitiated. The court found no statutory infringement in the fare hike and ruled that the Metro administration was well within its legal authority to revise the fares. In the next update, the top court has refused to interfere with an order passed by the Allahabad High Court directing the Archaeological Survey of India, or ASI, to whitewash the exterior walls of the Sambhal Jama Mosque. The order was passed in connection with an ongoing suit that alleges the mosque was constructed over a demolished Hindu temple. The request for whitewashing was initially made by the mosque committee, which sought permission to clean and restore the structure before the start of the Ramzan month. Earlier in March, the Allahabad High Court had directed ASI to whitewash the mosque's exterior walls within a week in accordance with the 1927 agreement between the Mosque Management Committee and the ASI. The court had further instructed the ASI to undertake whitewashing only in areas where it was deemed necessary. Additionally, the Mosque Committee was ordered to reimburse the ASI for the expenses incurred in this process. Today, a bench comprising CJI Sanjeev Khanna and Justice Sanjay Kumar was hearing a petition challenging the High Court's direction. Advocate Barun Sinha, representing the petitioner, argued that the High Court had erred in instructing the ASI to carry out the whitewashing. But the top court refused to interfere in the matter and dismissed the petition. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court is also dealing with another petition filed by the Sambhal Shahi Jama Masjid Committee. This petition challenges a trial court order issued on 19th November 2024, which had appointed an advocate commissioner to survey the mosque as part of a suit alleging that the Mughal-era structure was built after demolishing an ancient Hindu temple. And now let me tell you, the Delhi High Court has granted a permanent injunction in favor of Tata Sons Private Limited, restraining a seller of packaged drinking water from infringing upon the trademark and copyright of Tata's mineral water brand named Tata Copper Plus Water. The defendant, JK Enterprises, had been selling packaged drinking water under the name JK Copper Plus Water, which was found to be deceptively similar to Tata's product. Originally launched as Tata Water Plus, Tata Copper Plus Water has been sold under its current brand name since January 2023, when its trademark was officially registered. Last year in February, the court had already issued an ex parte ad interim injunction preventing the defendant from manufacturing, distributing, or selling its infringing product. Justice Mini Pushkarna, presiding over the case today, noted that the defendant failed to file a written statement within the required time. As a result, the case proceeded to summary judgment. The court took into account Tata's arguments that its product, first introduced in 2012, was India's first nutrient-enriched packaged drinking water developed with international scientists and nutrition experts. Given that the product contains essential minerals like copper and zinc, its packaging prominently features a copper brown label. A comparison of the two products led the court to conclude that the defendant had blatantly copied the essential features and artistic elements of Tata's unique trade dress. A local commissioner's inspection of the defendant's premises further revealed a significant stock of infringing bottles bearing Tata's trade dress. The court observed that Tata has built substantial goodwill and reputation due to extensive advertising, promotion, and long-standing use of the brand. It also held that similarities between the two products were a deliberate attempt to mislead consumers and traders, creating a likelihood of confusion. Therefore, declaring that a clear case of trademark and copyright infringement had been established, the court issued a permanent injunction against the defendant. The court further directed the defendant to pay 10 lakh as damages to Tata. And lastly, the Andhra Pradesh High Court has ruled that rape cannot be considered a mere physical assault and that granting bail in such cases requires a cautious approach in the interest of society. Justice T. Mallikarjun Rao emphasized the seriousness of the offence, stating that rape is punishable by rigorous imprisonment for at least 10 years, which can extend to life imprisonment. In cases of gang rape, the punishment is a minimum of 20 years of rigorous imprisonment, extendable to life imprisonment. The judge stressed that due to grave nature of the offence, courts must adopt a different approach when considering bail applications in such cases. The case here involved a bail plea filed by a final year law student who is accused number 1, who was charged under various sections of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, including gang rape, voyeurism, criminal intimidation, and sexual harassment, along with provisions of Information Technology Act. According to the prosecution, the petitioner had developed an intimate relationship with the complainant, who was a third-year law student, and allegedly forced her into sexual intercourse under the pretext of marriage. It was further alleged that he secretly recorded the act and later, along with his friends who are accused number 2 to 4 here, used the video to threaten and coerce her into further sexual acts. The complainant, unable to bear the continued harassment, reportedly attempted suicide. The court noted that while filing of a charge sheet is a relevant factor in bail considerations, it is not the sole criterion. The judge observed that the complainant's statements pointed to the petitioner's active role in facilitating the participation of others in the alleged crime. The petitioner's involvement was seen as central to coercing the complainant into the situation. Although the medical report did not confirm any recent sexual intercourse, the court stated that it did not rule out the possibility of sexual assault. Given the gravity of the allegations and the role attributed to the petitioner, the court denied his bail application.